Hi, in this session I will be discussing how the hazardous materials are treated in a warehouse, or how they are stocked, or what functionality WM provides to differentiate hazardous materials, and how we need to treat hazardous materials in a warehouse. So in this session we will understand how to use the WM functionality for storing of hazardous materials. Now, hazardous materials are those materials which are classified as kind of dangerous materials, or they have certain rules and regulations on how to handle these materials, how to store these materials, how to transport these materials. So these are not the general materials that would be stored in the normal storage types and the normal bins and so on. So once a material is classified to be a hazardous material, it needs to be handled in a different way. So SAP has some inbuilt functionality that could be used to classify different kinds of hazardous materials based on how it is to be stored, based on whether it is corrosive, whether it is inflammable, whether it needs a special way to be handled, and all these kind of things. So let us try to understand this functionality, how we need to deal with hazardous materials in a warehouse. So we will focus specifically on how to handle this in a warehouse. So how exactly these needs to be stored, or how to set up a put away or a picking functionality, or a storage type access sequence for these kind of materials. So basically, so far we have seen a normal materials, and if we want to classify a material as a hazardous material, then we need to create the hazardous material number first with the T code VM01. Here we give the storage class and the water pollution class and other details in the master data, and create the hazardous material number. And then in the second step we assign this hazardous material number to the hazardous material that we would want to classify as a hazardous material. So this could be a normal material. I mean, we create the material normally, and once we assign the hazardous material number, then it starts picking up the storage class and the water pollution class and the other details that are needed. But from a warehouse perspective, to be able to classify or to be able to use the WM functionality for storage type access sequence, we only need to maintain the storage class and the water pollution class. Next, we also need to configure the hazardous materials management in WM node, and then finally we have to maintain the storage type access sequence so that we are able to use this functionality for the hazardous material. So let us see in the system how this is done, so that you get a more clear idea of how to use this functionality. So here I have created a material, hazardous material number 31. So this number you can define, and most importantly, you have to give a region code to this hazardous material number. And then we have to define the storage class. So right now I am selecting the class explosive material just as an example, and then we have to give the water pollution class that has been defined. All these would be defined in the configuration we will see in a moment. So once these are maintained, there could be other details that can be maintained, like the hazardous fluid class, or the flash point, or the hazardous substance number. So these would be also needed for the dangerous goods management module. But for from a warehouse perspective, when we are talking about storing a material or picking the material, we most importantly need the storage class and the water pollution class. So at this time I have created a hazardous material number 31 with the region code US. Just for example, I have a storage class 1 and a water pollution class 0. I save this. Let us now assign this hazardous material number to a normal material. So I have a normal material 3135 which I have already created. So I will just go in change mode in the WM view, WM1 view, in plant 1000 and storage warehouse S01, and here we have this hazardous material number that we need to assign. So the number that you have created specifically for your case, you would pull this hazardous material number here. So this could also be assigned to any material which would be having similar characteristics, that is the storage class and the water pollution class. So once this is assigned, we have the stock removal and the stock placement indicator 006. So in standard SAP, 006 storage type is the hazardous material storage type. So I am going to store this material and remove this material from 006. Rest of the data is quite similar to what we have maintained. The only difference now here is the hazardous material number. Let us now go to the config part and let us see what extra things we need to do for using the hazardous materials management. So let us go to logistics execution, and before we actually do anything, I just wanted to share one important config point, that when we started this warehouse, when we copied the warehouse and defined the control parameters for the warehouse, we did not define the region code. So we did not define the region code. We straight away went and defined the required parameters. Now when we are using the hazardous material functionality, we would need the region code also, or even otherwise it's a good practice to maintain the region code. So I left out the region code part purposely because this region code part is defined in the hazardous material management node. So let us try to understand how this is done. So this is the hazardous material node. Let us see what all we have over here. So we define the region codes first over here. We define purely the region codes and assignment is done later. So here we have the region codes: D for Germany, IN for India, US for United States. You can add the region codes where you are designing the warehouse for. So these are just an example, and just wanted to show you the node where the region codes are defined. So I have defined the hazardous material number with the region code US. So I will be now using the region code US for my warehouse, so that it would start identifying the material correctly. This is just an example, but information on how to or where to assign or where to define the region codes. Let us now see the assignment. So the assignment part of the region code is done in strategies under hazardous materials. So you go inside strategies, and then we have the assignments. You click the warehouse, and then you can assign the region code over here. So just an example, I am assigning the region code US, as I have created the the hazardous material with region code US. I save this, and now you can see in the control parameters for the warehouse that the region code would start appearing. Initially it was not over here, or not seen over here. Now coming back to the master data, we can define the storage class over here, or it is defined over here, and if you want anything extra, but the standards are more than sufficient because these are as per international norms. The most important activity is done here in strategies under the hazardous materials. So here we need to activate the hazardous material check. So I am going to activate it on the storage type for 006. So this is hazardous material check at storage type level only, and the water pollution class is 0, so it's blank, seen blank over here. We have already used this node, and here we need to define or create the storage classes allowed per storage type. So for me now, as per my material 31, the hazardous material number, I have a storage class allowed 1. If you want to store more than that, you can allow here. So I have created one entry for storage class allowed per storage type. Then we come to the storage type search. So we have the storage type search, and here we define the normal storage type search. So for 006, you can see I have a storage class and a water pollution class defined. So far we were concentrating on stock category, special stock indicator, reference storage type, but now we can use this just for example. So this is the storage class that we had defined for the material that we just created, and the water pollution class is 0. So this is the stock removal, and I have a similar stock put away with this check as in with this indicator. So now when this material with the hazardous material number 31 comes into the warehouse, it is going to check the storage class and the water pollution class, and then it is going to select this particular storage type. Let us see this. So I have done a goods receipt with a movement type 501, that is goods receipt without a reference of a purchase order. And I have a material document, and I will be doing a put away. Let us see how the system determines the bin in the storage type 006, or whether it is able to make which is the correct storage type based on the sequence that we have set up. So this is the material 3135. We have already assigned the hazardous material number 31 to it. This is the SU data, and let us go ahead to put away in the foreground. I have already created a bin in storage type 006. So now you can see the material has been directed to 006, and we can check how the system has determined this particular bin. So now we can see that the system has checked the storage class and the water pollution class. So this is how the system would determine, and for this, the config that we did, the region code that we have set up in the material master and for the warehouse is very important, and based on that the system is able to do the complete search. Similarly, it would do the picking. So with this functionality, we are able to store the material based on the storage class and the water pollution class in a separate place in the warehouse. So warehouse management functionality can be used with this additional parameters to direct the material to the correct destination bin. So this is how the hazardous material should be or can be managed in the warehouse. This session was just to give you a small introduction on how exactly to use the hazardous materials functionality in the warehouse for storing goods in the designated bins or for the bins that we want. So thus we have seen all the 4 points on how to handle the hazardous materials and how to store them in the warehouse.